You so crazy, crazy. Who's the craziest? I so crazy. You so crazy, crazy. Who's the craziest? I so crazy. You so crazy, crazy. Who's the craziest? I so crazy. You so crazy, crazy. Who's the craziest? Now who's the craziest? Now who's the craziest?
Okay, and those were the Tearjerkers, a band from Ireland that I don't know if they got anywhere other than being on this show.
How you doing? I'm Samuel Vera, president and founder of Crazee Comics. I also write and create for CosmicWars, Forbidden, and There's an Alien in My Toilet.
Now, I guess we should start off with why are you doing this? I mean, the economy sucks, all right? You've got one distributor of comics for the whole country, and they don't like independent comics. They don't like anything alternative or different. They want everything to be all corporate and mainstream and stuff. And here you guys are creating and publishing it yourselves and getting it out there and putting in all that work to write, all that work to draw, all that work to publish and distribute. Why?
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things where the only difference is you don't have that financial backing. You know.
That's the only difference. Oh wow, that's nothing at all.
That's the only challenge. You know, once you get over that hurdle, you know, just do what you do best, and you know, tell a story the way you want to tell it, without any interference, and you know, hopefully you'll reach, you know, that one or two few individuals that appreciate your product, and that's what we do it. I mean, obviously there's no financial gain, at least no immediate financial gain. You know, I know in Crazee Comics, everybody, I mean, the Liefelds and the Tom Mclelland and Jim Lee and Silvestri, they were all big names with Marvel Comics prior to them starting Image Comics, so they had that. I mean, the real hardcore independents are not the Image. I don't consider Image independent at all. I consider them mainstream.
Well, some of the artists who are with Image actually pay Image to publish their books.
Right.
So you know, there is something mainstream about that.
Right, exactly. I mean, you want to see independents, you know, go to the local shows, you know, the small events where you'll see the true die-hard, you know, comic creators that are just doing it because they love to do it.
Yeah, this is, you know, in a way that the people here are the Big Apple regulars.
Yes.
Because all of us are at pretty much every single Big Apple convention, and you know, selling our comics, you know, in our dribs and drabs and our ones and twos,
and talking to the fans.
Yes, getting past the twos. We thought it was a challenge getting past issue number 1.
It's a lot of work.
What?
you printing thousands of copies?
No.
No, but that's what printers want.
We did make that mistake the first time out. Yeah, we did make that mistake the first time out. We were so excited about, I mean, Michael Carbonero, Big Apple, gave us the first break. He was the first promoter to actually embrace us. And so we got excited. It's like, all right, let's go out. I said, I think the norm is to print a certain amount of books, and we went and printed so many books. And we finally got rid of them. Yeah, it took 2 years, but
Wow.
But yeah, we don't make that mistake anymore. Prior to coming out, I mean, we spent a few years just going to conventions and speaking to, like, Brian Polito was extremely helpful in helping us to understand what happened with Chaos.
Brian, who does?
Yeah, Lady Death, and he formerly owner of Chaos Comics, and basically he sat us down. I mean, took time, just sat us down for a few hours and just went over why Chaos went under, and it was eye-opener for us, you know, because when at first, you know, you're overzealous and you're wide-eyed and you're like, all right, you know, I'm going to do this, and then you realize, oh wait, you know, there's a lot of other factors to actually consider. So after speaking to him, we also got a chance to speak with Mark Silvestri of Top Cow, and got some pointers from him. We got to speak to Joe Kubert, the man. And
He's got a cartooning school
yes,
in Connecticut?
yes,
In New Jersey,
yes.
I think.
New Jersey?
Man, if I didn't have a full-time job during the day, I'd go. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we educated ourselves on the back end first, and then we're still making mistakes. I mean, we make mistakes all the time. I mean, like, we printed 1,000 books that had errors. so luckily, the fans that we have are so loyal that they just overlooked it. You know, so that's
Yeah.
the great part.
Yeah, I
That's the
talked
great
to
part.
some editors.
That's why we put checks and balances in place now, where we, prior to anything, we'll spend 2 days just proofreading and double checking and making sure everything's right. From that color's right, this matches this. So to prevent that from happening, because we couldn't escape that infamous typo.
Yeah.
I know one of the Crazee comics, your little thing with Santa Claus and aliens invading Earth and deciding Santa Claus is the guy they got to go after, would make a wonderful animated series.
That's very
Christmas
fun.
special.
And I tell you, they're voracious when it comes to Christmas stuff. So, one of these days somebody's going to go, ooh, a new way of doing Santa Claus.
Yes. The alien on my toilet, his name is Duty, and he's from the planet Uranus. And, so
Yeah, so for your kids that like Captain Underpants, they might like this.
yes. Actually, in the back of the books, we have some actual educational questions, science questions that we have a thesaurus on, because the alien does use an extended. He has an extended vocabulary. So it's this egocentric alien. He thinks he knows it all. Who's sent to Earth to determine whether or not Earth is a threat. And from the point he gets here, from the moment he gets here, he crash lands and he goes through a whole series of events and realizes he's bit more than he can chew. So it's a pretty interesting story, and we were approached by several network executives about that story. So, we're good openers. We just got to close it. Yes, it's closing the deal. That's the difficult part.
It takes forever, I tell you.
Cosmic Wars is our flagship title. That's the title we launched at our first event in 2003, and it's actually our biggest seller so far at events. And it's a sci-fi adventure series. Nothing to do with humans. It's all fantasy, and it's about this battle over the Athenian star, which is this gem that all the forces in the universe are trying to get their hands on, and the burden.
That sounds a bit of a fantasy element too,
Yes.
along with your sci-fi.
Yes, and the burden of protecting that gem from getting in the wrong hands falls on the shoulders of one princess, and there's never been a female ruler before. And so she has to convince the allies and her army that she's capable of defending this from getting in the wrong hands. But to do so, she needs to find this one fallen hero who was her guardian and protector at one point, but he blamed himself for her father's demise, so he went into exile. So she needs to risk her life to find him against her captain's orders, because he doesn't want her to do it. So she goes off to try to find Gorf, and because she needs him to win the allies' support. And so that triggers a series of events, because now all the forces of evil are trying to get her, because now she's no longer in the protective, surroundings of her army. So she's just out there with one guardian. That's it. So it's a really good fantasy story. We have 3 issues. The 3rd issue is coming out in the spring, because it's CGI. I build all the backgrounds in 3D, and I hand illustrate all the characters. So I do all the work on it. I draw it and I color it and I build models and everything, because we're actually working on an animated version of it. So once I build my scenes, I can use that, and when I build my models and incorporate that into animation.
I'd like to add that it's probably one of your best sellers because it's kid-friendly.
Yes. And because I created a story when I was 12 years old, and at that time it was called The Adventures of Cosmic Wars. Now the characters look nothing like they do now.
You've learned a little bit about drawing since then, have you?
Yes. I actually have the original illustration. It looks more like Alf, and there's the influence. Then we have Rush 5377. George Medina is the creator of that. He's not here with us right now. He's in Florida. That rat think.
That's not what you really feel.
You might be listening to this on the internet.
But he's helped you with the Spanish editions of your comics, right?
Yes. George, the infamous Medina. He was able to. We were approached by a lot of Spanish network executives saying, how come you don't have the Spanish version? So we're like, huh? And I said, I don't know anything about translating anything. And so George, with his mom, got together and they translated the book. And that was.
And his mom, that's kind of cool.
Yes, she was a big influence, a big help. And so we have, the only title we actually have in Spanish is Forbidden, which is it's a fantasy. It's a more older teens, 16 and over, because there's violence and there's blood and gore. And it's about this, it starts off centuries in the past, and there's this race of people. A group of hunters went out searching for food, and they entered this forbidden forest. So the creatures that dwelled within that forest went back to their location and said, give us those who desecrated our land or suffer. And they refused. So that by morning, they all, as soon as they walked out of their tents, they all started burning from the sun. And the few that made it went into caverns underground, never to be seen again. Now the world has evolved centuries later in modern day technology, but they remain underground. No one even knows they exist. So now there's a son. He's challenging his father. Says, Father, how do you know this curse still exists? We've been in underground all these years. And the father imprisons his son. He says, don't ever question me. I'm not going to risk our people because of your foolish thoughts. So the son commits the ultimate sin. He commits murder to escape with the aid of his love interest. And that triggers, from that point on, it just starts a series of events, because the actual descendants of the creatures that cast that curse on them, the leader, his name is David Hunter. He's now this multi-billion-dollar. He's a billionaire. He's a mogul, and his goal is to dominate the world. And now they have watchers, and they say, what, the son of Fox has just escaped the cameras, and he's supposed, it's said that the son of Fox is the key to their destruction. So they need to make sure that they extinguish him before he realizes what his purpose is. So that triggers a whole series of events. But they prepared, there's an elder, his name is Viejo, who's there to mold and prepare Sin once he escaped the cameras. And he had the name Sin because of what he's done. He committed the ultimate sin.
I've seen the first installment of that comic, and it's very like the pulp hidden city look. You really capture that, but you have the more adult, high fantasy angst and violence.
Yes, and the great thing about it is that we were at the Frank Frazetta Museum, his estate, and so I got
Pennsylvania.
Yes, it's beautiful, and they're the greatest people. And I sat down with his wife, and she actually critiqued Forbidden, and went over it with us, and she gave us a thumbs up, and that was amazing, because I've been a Frazetta fan since I was a kid, and we didn't really get to speak to him because he was going to the clinic, and but we got to say hello, and but we spent some time at the museum, and it's just amazing stuff. Then we have There's an Alien on My Toilet, and which was inspired by this newspaper editor who was looking for something for his newspaper. They were looking for some new material for the newspaper, and they approached us. Actually, I wasn't at the Big Apple at the time. Jonathan and George were, so they told me about it. And as we were driving through the Lincoln Tunnel, I was like, oh, I got it. And they're like, so I waited till...
What's it about the Lincoln Tunnel makes you think of Santa Claus?
Or toilets.
Or toilets, or... well, toilets, okay, yeah.
As a man, we do spend a lot of time in the toilet. That's where you get to read your magazines in peace and close the door to the world. And we got to IHOP, and I said, you guys ready? Now listen. And so I told him, listen, there's an alien in my toilet. Jonathan got up, he says, I quit. George said, you know what, you lost your mind, that's it. And I said, no, really, listen, this is the punchline. And I'm not going to give it away, because it's a 6-part miniseries.
Jonathan's being all quiet and nodding his head in agreement. Yeah.
I'm agreed. I really did thought he lost it. I'm worried.
Yeah. Actually, when I said it with an accent, and to draw some humor into it. And
what accent did you say?
I was like, the Sanalia in my toilet. And so after I gave him the whole spiel, we sat down and I grabbed the table mat and we started illustrating the characters and designing the look. And went straight home. I said, forget the newspaper editor. I think this is going to be a hit. And I said, you know what? We'll do this ourselves. And so I took it from there. We sampled it at the San Diego International Comic Con. Oh my gosh, it was amazing, the amount of attention. We've been doing this for a few years, and our books never got this kind of attention. And it was on a whim. And the
It's a humor title.
Yes, it's
called
all
inspiration,
ages.
Sam.
Yes, it was all ages. It's funny. I didn't even know I could write comedy, and I was like, wow, I could do that. And but then we had Disney approach us, we had Warner Brothers approach us, we had Fox Kids Network approach us. I'm like, what's going on? I said, but CosmicWars, I created since I was 12 years old. This little bugger came out of nowhere. So we were surprised. We didn't expect it. We just had a little booklet, black and white, with a cover, and it wasn't a standard comic. It was actual like comic strips that you find in newspapers. It was in that format. And we had T-shirts and posters, and sold out. and I can believe it. And so
Well, I was reading on the subway, and I had people reading over my shoulder, and it's kind of weird because when on the subway, people sort of like want to sneak a look, you know, and when they find out that they're looking, they're like, "Ooh, oh, I'm not looking." So I just moved the comic closer to them, going, "It's okay, you can read it." And it's really kind of interesting that it just people are like, "What is this?" Because again, it's not something you're going to normally see.
right.
And that is why I'm having people like Sam and Jonathan here on the air. And
I'm so crazy, you so crazy, crazy. Who's the craziest? I'm so crazy, you so crazy, crazy. Who's the craziest? I'm so crazy, you so crazy, crazy. Who's the craziest? I'm so crazy, you so